Broadcasting from Boston, Massachusetts, the Smart Cities podcast is the only podcast dedicated to all things smart cities. The podcast is the creation of ARC Advisory Group's Smart City practice. ARC advises leading companies, municipalities, and governments on technology trends and market dynamics that affect their business and quality of life in their cities. To engage further, please like and share our podcast or reach out directly on Twitter at Smart City Viewpoints or on our website at www.arcweb.com/industries/smart-cities.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest installment of the ARC Smart City podcast. I'm Larry O'Brien, Vice President of Research at ARC Advisory Group. And I have with us today a couple of very knowledgeable people from TCS, otherwise known as Tata Consultancy Services, who has a very good smart city platform and smart city technology practice. I have with me here today Sachin Gangwar and Yuvarajan of TCS. Good morning, guys. How you doing today?
Good morning, Larry.
Morning. So Sachin Gangwar, I'm going to introduce first. He's an experienced product management professional at TCS with more than 20 years of industry experience in product conceptualization, product design, positioning, and launch. He has conceptualized and realized products in the IoT and smart city domains at TCS. And we have Yuvarajan, who has 15 years of experience at TCS and is currently working as a product consultant in the smart city domain. He has worked across multiple domains, including airlines, retail, banking, and various areas of smart cities like transportation and water management and street lighting and building energy management and city command centers, and the list goes on. He is passionate about creating innovative products and has core experience in product architecture and design, business analysis, and product development. And I think both of you gentlemen are joining us from India today. So thank you for doing that. And I hope things are safe there. I know, it's a touchy situation there in India right now. So I hope you guys are doing well over there. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about today, actually. Building on our theme of using technology and smart city technology specifically to make cities and critical infrastructure safer for people, and also to realize some long-term benefits as well once we ostensibly get over this horrible pandemic that's been going on. And that's what we're going to talk about here today, specifically what TCS is doing and their IUX smart city platform, and we'll get into that later. So Sachin and Yuvaraj, I'm wondering if you guys could just introduce yourselves briefly and tell us a little bit about what you're doing at TCS and how you see things. And I guess we'll start with Sachin. Could care to give us a brief intro?
Thanks, Larry. In fact, you gave quite I talked about my background and my experience quite in detail. So just summing it all up briefly, my role in TCS is in the product management domain. And in this role, I have been working in the smart city market domain, and I've been responsible for defining products in the smart city space. And in fact, I have been instrumental in defining products, particularly in transport, water, energy, and the cross-domain command control center. And recently, we also launched a workplace resilience solution, which is purely targeted upon bringing back enterprises back after this pandemic is over. So basically, helping the enterprises to bring back the employees, considering the risk the employees are facing. So we'll be talking about this particular solution in some more details in our discussion today. That's in brief about me.
Thanks, Sachin. Look forward to it. And Yuvaraj?
Hey, hi, Larry. You have covered a lot about myself. So out of this 15 years of experience in TCS, I have close to half of my experience in the smart city domain, where along with Sachin, we have worked across multiple areas like transportation, water, etc. And we have been using analytics as the core and trying to help cities turn smart by stitching data from various silos, giving an insightful information to them, and ensure that all the key problems that cities typically face are addressed using this smart city platform that we have been building. And as you said, my core experience lies in product architecture and design and product development. And that's where my experience lies. Over to you.
Thanks, Yuvraj. So let's get started with the first question. And I know we're going to get more into the platform and the value and the issues that end users are facing. But I thought I would start with a very general question, and that is, what impact has COVID-19 had on your customers? How is it affecting your solution portfolio, your strategies, and so forth? You know, we've definitely seen that the pandemic has caused a lot of cities and owner-operators to sort of reevaluate their strategies and actually increase their adoption of digital transformation strategies and industrial Internet of Things technologies and so forth. Can you tell us a little bit about the effect that COVID-19 is having on your customers and how it's affecting your solution portfolio?
Yeah, definitely. So before I move into how it's affecting our product portfolio, a brief introduction of what our product portfolio consists of. So basically, as a group, this is focusing on developing analytic products, and our products are catering to various domains like smart city, banking, retail, insurance, and communications. Now, definitely, this COVID has devastated the economy, and it has affected everyone in the society, and nobody has affected the effects of COVID. Now, what this has triggered, in fact, what we have seen, it has definitely triggered the enterprises and the cities to focus on the importance of being resilient, the importance of resilient operations, and this made them think what actually can make them resilient. And obvious conclusion was to have a digital spine within the city and within the enterprise. So it's basically the realization from this pandemic is definitely a need for a digital spine within the city and within an organization or an enterprise. Now, we have seen these trends quite dominant, actually. There is an increased investment by the enterprises and by the cities in digitization activities. And they are quickly now they are actually actively adopting technologies like artificial intelligence, IoT, cloud. This is all in that direction of establishing a digital spine. Now, it's quite obvious that the organizations they are actually doing this investment because they want to sustain their positioning in the market. They want to have a resilient operations. And this will be possible only if they have a digital core in place. And this digital core, once it is there, definitely it will bring in all the data at one place, which will help them in a very holistic approach towards their customers. And since all the data is at one place, it will also enable them to deliver a connected experience to the customer. So that will actually be something which customers would value and would always look for, and that can be easily enabled through this digital core. Now, what it means for us from our product portfolio standpoint. In fact, like I mentioned, our product portfolio is always is based on analytics, is based on the capable analytic offerings in different domains. So our product portfolio will continue to focus on the analytic domain, and they will enable the enterprise to build a city's digital core or an enterprise digital core. This will be our focus area, and we will further enrich this this focus with our analytic, basically AI and DL models, which will be part of our platform. Then, in fact, just to quote one example, we already have extended one of our products in the resilience domain, which is now helping back employees, and we'll be following a similar approach across all our products to build in resilience in all our products so that it addresses the requirement of the enterprises in the different domains we are targeting. That is banking, retail. We will have that notion of resilience in all our products. And in fact, all our products have been designed for enterprises to deliver a holistic experience, which is what now enterprises are looking for as part of a digital core. Net, if I want to summarize, we will continue to focus on products which will enable enterprise to become resilient by fast tracking their digital journey. Over to you, Larry.
Thanks. And I agree with you about this notion of resilience too. So right now, what we're seeing at ARC is, people trying to rush to respond to a pandemic. But, someday, who knows when, but this pandemic will eventually be over. And I think most of the city managers and owner operators and so forth are looking for a future where they are more resilient, where they can respond better to these kind of black swan events that we see like COVID, right? Because we have all types of events that are happening across cities, all over the world right now, whether it's related to the pandemic or whether it's related to climate change. We have severe weather events that are happening all over the world. So it seems like these events are not going to be maybe so black swan, quote unquote, as they used to be. So cities have to be a little bit more prepared to respond to the unexpected. And having these silos of operation that you mentioned is not a good thing, right? If these are isolated silos, then you can't tell, you don't have a holistic view of what's going on in the entire city or your entire operation. And obviously what happens in one silo of operation is probably going to affect what happens in another. So we definitely see the value of a smart city platform to provide that holistic view. And I think a lot of the end users do now too, since they're accelerating their adoption of these platforms. But I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about this notion of resilience and exactly how you're building, this resilience or this capability for resilience into your portfolio.
Yeah, Larry, definitely. So as we know, there's this effect of the pandemic have actually introduced new elements of risk to the business operations, right? Not only the virus is causing danger to the public health, but it has extended traditional parameters of enterprise risk, which includes regulatory and safety compliance, the core business operations, and also the upstream and downstream supply chains. So COVID-19 is posing new challenges to the way our customers have been working, the enterprises run their organization, and the way they interact with their customers, right? And these uncertainties are forcing them to reevaluate their established business as usual processes and operations. We in TCS, being an agile organization, we were able to actually help these entities navigate these challenging business environment. And in this process, what we have noticed is this pandemic and related impacts can be broadly classified into 5 major categories. One is, of course, the first one is the ensuring employee safety and public health. Second is the emerging regulatory needs that we see over this period, building operational resilience, redefining your customer engagement, and accelerating digital adoption. So these are the key 5 categories we see that every industry or cities are focusing upon, and every solution that is getting built need to address these challenges inherent within these categories. So that's the key ask from the solution perspective. And unlike the previous disasters, what we see the COVID created, the risk that the COVID created is really complex. And whatever existing business continuity solution that the organizations had were not able to deal with this kind of a risk. Cities, there's a constant need for the cities and enterprises to actually monitor the risk at the physical workplace locations or offices and take immediate actions if an employer, a customer, or any worker exhibits symptoms. And in an unfortunate situation, when an individual is identified at risk, the organization also need to implement contact tracing, which should be very quick and efficient. Not only this is critical for the workplace and public safety, but also it is crucial to ensure that sufficient staffing is being done and business is continued uninterrupted way. Sachin, would you like to add a few points to this question?
Yeah, sure, Yuvraj. Thanks. So basically, adding to that point, one thing is important that when an organization has put solutions and practice in place which for effective monitoring of risk and well-being of its employee, it is definitely increasing the public confidence in the organization. And this will actually reduce the overall business risk because all the partners of my organization, the business partners, they will start believing in my ability to sustain business, to continue in business, because I am taking care of my employees within my business. So this is increasing the confidence, which will help me in reducing the overall business risk. And moreover, since as an organization, if I start monitoring and understanding the impact of risk on which projects are getting more affected, I can actually be very transparent when I'm actually monitoring the project risk impact on the projects, and I'll be able to share this data. And that transparency and effective messaging to all stakeholders will further ease out the business, because it will amplify the perceived confidence in this organization with my partners. And that confidence of our customers will help in serving their end customers in a much better way, in a much more predictable way. So if all this has to be done, if we have to do all this, what Yuvraj just explained and what I just mentioned, this is a very complex activity. It requires data capture and a very intensive processing requirements. Enormous amount of information and is needed, and it's all to be processed in real time. And an integrated big picture created, because you have different factors affecting, so these are all dependent factors, and you have to create an integrated picture and assess risk and also manage compliance, because that becomes quite important in such a situation. And organizations don't have the capability or the resources to do this. Now, organizations now have, and that is what has actually taken them for surprise when this COVID came. And the organizations we have seen now, they have started to address this requirement through all the digitization programs. And now we are now ready. In fact, we had our product portfolio aligned with this objective. Now we are ready with our products to enable these organizations in their journey, to make them resilient and responsive in this new normal.
Yeah, I think COVID is unique in a lot of ways. It's forced a lot of the end users to get data from a bunch of different sources that they never had to before. You mentioned contact tracing. We're also looking at thermographic cameras and CCTV systems to avoid employee congregation, and planning out work schedules and shift changes. I think this problem, especially when you get to the operational technology level, right, versus the office environment, it really becomes a more complex problem, because these are people that have to be on the ground. They have to be, for example, in a water treatment facility, right? You can't just have those people all work from home. So that becomes a lot more complex when you have to manage the health of employees, in that kind of an environment, and just tracking people's health overall. I don't think, this is something that most end users have had to do in the overall broader context of risk management, right? So in a lot of ways, what's happening right now is changing the ways that end users look at risk management and regulatory compliance, as you mentioned. I know we have our own OSHA regulations here in the U.S. about what to do, to keep employees safe during
Absolutely.
COVID. I've actually read through some of that guidance. It's pretty substantial. If you ever get a chance to read it, and I'm sure, all around the world, different nations, have their own regulations for how to do that. So it is becoming much more complex. And I don't think that complexity is going to go away anytime soon, because now that we have all this stuff in place to keep people safer, I'm sure we're going to keep that. And that kind of speaks to, the long-term value of these solutions, which we'll get into a little bit later. But, I think the people that are deploying these digitalization solutions right now, these IoT-based solutions are doing so because they see a long-term value. It's not just as a response to the pandemic. And we'll get more into that later. But I'd like you to tell us more. Earlier, you'd mentioned you'd already designed and brought to market a solution around resilience. So let's get into that a little bit more and examine what your solution is to provide this to resilience. And maybe we can talk a little bit about the platform and so forth too. Care to comment on that?
Yeah, Larry. So if you see when we saw the goal of the city and the federal or the state or city managers, right? It's the same thing as that of the large and small businesses, right? That is, the primary goal is to protect the employees and citizens at this pandemic and also enable them to flourish at their offices, stores, branches, campuses, wherever they are, even at their homes, right? So whether you are a mayor of a city or a CEO, the challenge that we saw was to bring all the silo data together that can create cross-silo, cross-domain visibility and insights for taking effective and proactive decisions in terms of managing the personnel, the resources, and also communication across these people, right? Whether you have a complex enterprise campuses or complex city infrastructure, the ability to ingest these data and monitor them and generate cross-cutting insights could from everything, from all the data like the sentiment, the health, the infrastructure IoT data, the projects, recreation list will become the way to lead into the future. So
I think that's one of the problems that the users have right now, right? They have an installed base of all kinds of different technologies. They need sort of this common layer, right, to put everything into a common context. So a lot of different data from a lot of different sources and a lot of different systems.
Yes, right. And this pandemic had very much highlighted the need for this kind of an insight and visibility, right? And so it has made it critical to harness these disparate data sources. And if you see in UX, we have leveraged different open data which is available in the public domain. This was mainly to determine the location risk of the associate based on their addresses. And we also, enterprises also need deeper integration with the extended systems they have for a comprehensive response and using which they can determine risk insights on how a location or geography is changing its risk patterns due to the infection or geopolitical factors, or how the consumer behavior is shifting, and that's going to influence the demand and the supply of the resources, right? So this is where the analytics can provide game-changing help and support both the cities and the organization to take informed decisions that are both successful, that are both critical for the successful operations, both during and after major disruptions.
Tell us a little bit about IUX for workplace resilience and what it can do, right? I mean, we've been talking about common data. Maybe you could give us some examples. We had a really good webinar with our Digital Transformation Council with TCS about IUX for workplace resilience that I thought was quite impressive. Let's hear about IUX.
Sure. So, Larry, because before we go into the details of the solution, just a bit of background on this. So basically, when this pandemic started and there was a need for having some solution in place which will help organizations to safely bring back employees. Definitely, we had the option of working from home, but there was a need for bringing a part of the employees back because there were some activities which have to be supported from the offices. So we needed a solution to support that. Now, our solution architects, basically who have been working in the smart city domain, they identified an interesting parallel between the business being affected by the pandemic and the smart city approaches. Now, as in smart city, the need so basically similarly in the enterprises, there was a need to capture data from different sources. In case of enterprises, it will be different IT systems, different sensors like you will have the swipe data records, you will have the video cameras, you will have different systems for leave systems, and then access management. So you have different IT systems which are there. The sick leave systems and basically the health management. You have payroll systems and you have different systems.
Building automation systems, all kinds of.
So you have this data, and you basically that it is all you have all that data, which will help you ensure safety. If actually that data can be brought together, you can devise a solution to ensure safety and security of the employees within the organization. So what they did was they applied the knowledge of enterprise risk. Since office locations needed to continuously understand how the pandemic would be affecting the business activity over time, including customer service and impact on revenue and profitability. Now, after studying all the use cases which are needed from opening the offices, what we realized that we could leverage the experience from the smart city, how we actually enable solutions in the smart city, and we are enabling the cities to become crisis resilient. What we did, the same experience was put into practice at an enterprise level, and in the enterprise we had multiple siloed departments. We had health department, which was actually having its own systems in place and process in place. We had the security department. We had the transportation department managing the transportation, bringing the employees to the office. Then we had the water and energy department. All these departments are siloed. Like in the case of cities, we have seen the silos existing in the organization. And
they're still firmly in place. The last time I checked, yeah, those silos, it's tough to break those down once they're in place.
Yes. And basically, these teams are what will actually add a lot of value is when we actually centrally manage all these teams together. And if we have to do that, the data analysis at such scale, it will need a command center, which will analyze all the data across the organization from various lines of business, external sources, and generate real-time insights and recommendations to manage and optimize the workplace, basically optimize the workplace resilience and operational safety. So we are this platform which we have in place, which we put in place, it's essentially a smart city platform, which has been repurposed to address a need which is there in the enterprise, which is similar to a need of a city, of breaking the silos and generating insights with the objective of identifying the risk our employees are facing and addressing that risk proactively. That has been the key to the solution, and we have already designed and brought the solution to the market. Yura, you want to add more to it?
Yeah, sure, Sachin. So like Sachin said, right, so we borrowed these lessons from smart cities and realized that it is essential to have a common shared platform that they can leverage existing technologies as well as internal and external data, right? So this actually led to the development of IUX for workplace resilience, which is the artificial intelligence powered command center analytics platform, which had specific use cases around workplace safety and the regulatory compliance and operational effectiveness. And IUX for workplace resilience leverages the business existing infrastructure. Like Sachin said, we had this your health department or your payroll department, your swipe data, building management systems. Also the external data. In this case, we had restored the open data about the infections, which is published by the cities and districts, right? So we got these data from both internal and external systems, and we're able to deliver real-time insights for to identify the risk of the associate and develop. Also, we used IoT devices in terms of CCTV cameras to determine the congregation at the workplaces and identify the hotspots in this area, ensure that the workspace distancing protocols is maintained. So all these data which were in silos, we were able to stitch them together and create a unified platform and which can give a lot of analytical insights. And what we saw is one of the key insight that a key benefit was that we could perform contact tracing of an associate using the swipe data in just minutes, which used to take days earlier through manually. It just used to take few minutes, and that helped the HR and the admin to really ensure that the people are safe and the business operations are also getting continued. And similarly, we were able to help in the generate simplified regulatory report, and were able to ensure that the operations are streamlined and they are not affected.
Yeah, I think it's also important to point out that you can't have that analytic capability unless you have that unified platform, right? So unless you have this unified environment where you can look at everything and you have a holistic view and you have a common environment to manage all the data, then you can apply the analytics. I think that's an important thing. A lot of people talk about AI and analytics, but you don't hear much about what you actually need to make it work. So I just want to bring that point out. You can't just apply analytics to whatever you have installed. You have to have some kind of a common environment to be able to do that in. Any other comments on the platform?
So Larry, just wanted to add, in fact, you pointed a very important aspect. It's about cross-domain analytics. And that's the key thing in our workplace resilience solution. We are trying to understand the impact of the infection growth rate on the risk the employee is facing. So our analytic models are modeling the growth rate of the infection across different locations in the city and what it means to the risk an employee is facing. So it's essentially we are bringing the location data of an employee, overlaying that with the growth rate information of the infection, and then deriving that insights, whether this person is safe to be called to the office or not safe. So that's one thing which I wanted to highlight.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to highlight. I think that's analytics with a bit of a higher purpose, right? We're looking at the safety of human beings here. So that is very important. Let's talk a little bit about how these capabilities go beyond COVID-19. I mean, obviously, right now it's very important to address the challenges of this pandemic. But these are companies and cities and municipalities that are making pretty substantial investments in technology, and I think it's reasonable to expect that they will have a long-term value proposition that goes beyond the pandemic. And I definitely think that the solutions that we're talking about today have that value. So I want to get your opinion. What are the capabilities of what you're doing right now that will still be relevant beyond COVID-19, and where is that long-term value?
Yeah, Larry. As you said, of course, these solutions are still relevant beyond the COVID-19 situation. If you see these enterprises, municipalities, and all the organizations were learning how these vulnerabilities in their safety or compliance or operations in the customer interactions, all these vulnerabilities can disturb the chain of the business continuity during a crisis, whether it is a pandemic like COVID-19 or a natural disaster or a political or social unrest, right? And this pandemic has stimulated the development of new solutions that we said that leverage the insights of IoT, other data sources to understand, predict, and recommend actions that are helping organizations to recover more quickly and build resilience into the digital core, right? And enable them to deliver compelling and purpose-driven connected experience to the customers and employees as well. And mainly, as we see, it cuts across these 5 areas, which is employee safety, regulatory compliance, operational resilience, workplace ecosystems, and customer engagements. So these solutions that are built during pandemic are definitely going to stay beyond this pandemic as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Resilience is a kind of a new concept. We didn't hear much about this before the pandemic, but like I said, I think we're going to see other events like this. It's not just going to be a pandemic. We have weather-related events and natural disasters and social upheaval, as you mentioned. So it's going to be important to have solutions like this in place. And I think in a lot of ways, it's kind of fundamentally changing how companies are measuring risk and viewing risk. And you mentioned business continuity too, and that kind of struck out with me too. because I think this would be a really good cornerstone of a business continuity plan, right? I do a lot of research in cybersecurity too, and they talk about business continuity in one context there, but I don't think most enterprises or cities or municipalities have really given much thought to the long-term health of employees as part of a business continuity plan. So I think in some ways these smart city platforms like IUX are going to form a really good cornerstone for business continuity in the future, and as people change the way that they view, what this terminology means, and what are some of the metrics that we need to keep track of in order to ensure business continuity and provide resilience. I think we're getting near the end of our podcast time here. Are there any other comments we want to bring out? Any messages for the potential end users out there that you want to highlight? I do have some resources I'm going to point out in just a bit, but.
So, Larry, just wanted to stress the solution which we have in place and released in the market. The uniqueness is about it's addressing one key, in fact, the reality which all organizations are facing. That's about they now have to accept that it will be always a distributed delivery model, which means the employees would be working in a distributed manner going forward, because that is something which organizations have realized, and it's something which is working effectively.
It's the new normal. Yeah.
Yes. Now, what it means is when because the employees are working in a distributed manner, it becomes very important that you have to monitor the risk these employees would be facing, because they now would be working in different environments. And environment risk, COVID being one of them, other environmental risk will become very important to monitor, and you have to see the impact whenever such a event happens. So our solution is mainly addressing that key concept about a distributed workforce, how you can actually assess the risk in a distributed workforce setup, and you can actually reduce that risk. So you will have a complete view of it. And in order to ensure business continuity, you know which employees are safe, which employees are at risk, and you can accordingly plan so that your business is not affected by, because your employees are getting, you can always proactively take actions for in the interest of the employees and in the interest of the business both.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, that's very interesting. We hadn't talked about that before. And that is definitely going to be a challenge as more and more people are going to continue to work from home. And we have people trickling back into the workplace right now in some places, but I think the work from home model is definitely going to stick in the long term, and not just, like I mentioned before, it's not just going to be in cubicle farms with office workers. It's the same for OT level workers that have to work in a control room or monitor, processes like in a water treatment plant or a power distribution center or an intelligent building or what have you. More and more of that stuff is going to be done remotely too. So I think assessing employee risk remotely, no matter what environment they're in, is probably a good thing.
Yep.
Right.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. This has been a really good podcast, very informative. I just want to list some resources that we have. So for TCS, the DS&S division, you can email TCS if you're interested in finding out more about the IUX platform or their analytical capability or anything they're doing with smart cities at tcs.dssg@tcs.com. Or you can visit the TCS website at www.tcs.com, and then you can look up IUX for Workplace Resilience. We also did a Digital Transformation Council webinar with TCS on IUX for Workplace Resilience not too long ago. If you're interested in that, you can email me at lobrien, LOBRIEN, at arcweb.com, or you can go to our website at www.arcweb.com. And once again, gentlemen, I want to thank you for a really excellent podcast. We hope to have you on again very soon. This has been very informative, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Larry. It was nice, really nice experience for us as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I thought it was a great discussion. Thank you.
Larry.
Thanks. And that's it for this latest installment of our Smart City podcast. And we look forward to hearing from you the next time, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Broadcasting from Boston, Massachusetts, the Smart Cities podcast is the only podcast dedicated to all things smart cities. The podcast is the creation of ARC Advisory Group's Smart City practice. ARC advises leading companies, municipalities, and governments on technology trends and market dynamics that affect their business and quality of life in their cities. To engage further, please like and share our podcast or reach out directly on Twitter at Smart City Viewpoints or on our website at www.arcweb.com/industries/smart-cities.